Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. So now guys, the moment will come. It always starts with an idea, but when will that moment come is the question. Guys, I bring you this. Be prepared to welcome independence of Odudua Republic soon, Akintoye tells Yoruba people. So Akintoye, of course, a leading proponent of a Yoruba nation, Yoruba Republic. This man has been agitating for this thing for 50 odd years, maybe longer, and this is his one wish in life. So the possibility has now suddenly opened up now, especially under the Fulanization agenda of the Malam Buhari regime, which has now sent everybody to their tents, with the Easterners, the Igbos, moving towards the IPOP sort of like orientation, and the Odudua Republic now starting to take its own shape. So again, the headline: be prepared to welcome independence of Odudua Republic soon. A headline attributed to an Akintoye. Akintoye tells Yoruba people. So now let's now see what the professor has to say. Professor Banji Akintoye, the Alano of Ilano Omo Odudua and a member of the Senate during the Second Republic, has said Yoruba people's journey to redemption has begun. In a statement released on Tuesday by the Media and Communications Secretary of the group, Akintoye said Yoruba people all over the world should be prepared to welcome their freedom in no distant future. He said the 1999 Constitution of Nigeria and the amalgamation of 1914 of the Southern and Northern Protectorates in 1914 by the British were the means through which the assets and sovereignty of the people of the Middle Belt and southern parts of the country were hijacked. He said the Yoruba journey to redemption has started, and soonest we are going to reach our Canaan land without any bloodshed. The statement announced a former Commissioner of Education in Osun State and former Director of Institute of African Studies at Obafemi Awolowo University Ile-Ife, Professor Wale Adeniran, as the interim national chairman of Ilana Odudua, whilst a renowned architect, Opeoluwa George Akinola, was named the interim general secretary, with an Ondo State-based varsity don, Kayode Akinwade, as his assistant. Recently, particularly during the current administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, there have been more agitations by groups in the southern parts of the country for secession from Nigeria, despite the government repeatedly saying Nigeria's unity is not negotiable. So now Odudua land, of course, this is something that, yeah, and exactly the last paragraph of this article is exactly the case. There has been now more agitation like never before, and now a determination that was never there before for a breakaway now sovereignty for all of the nations that constitutes the Nigerian Federation, that enough is enough and we cannot live like this anymore. So effectively now, the nations that are the composing nations, the constitution nations that form the federal structure called Nigeria, are effectively now being held against their will. Because if you go to Yoruba land, broadly, the average Yoruba person is ready to walk away from the Nigerian experience, and that is exactly what he wants. And if you go to Igbo land, the average Igbo person is exactly ready to walk away from the Nigerian experience, and that is what he wants. So if these people want away from Nigeria, but then they still find themselves within the Nigerian superstructure, then why is this the case? So effectively now, if they want away but they cannot get away, they are effectively being held against their will. So this is the narrative now of the Nigerian story, and this is always something that emerges in a lot of these videos that we do, because we look at the Nigerian situation, the way that it is structured, and you have to come to that understanding then that people, especially the Southerners, are being held against their will. So being held against their will now is something that would no longer be tolerated, especially by the Yoruba people. And this now Professor Banji Akintoye is leading from the front to say thus far and no further, and to tell the Yoruba people now to wait in anticipation of a Yoruba nation. So that anticipation of a Yoruba nation is something that has been anticipated now for long enough by the Yoruba people. This is what we want. We may not push it in quite the manner that elements within the Igbo nation are pushing it. I'm not saying the entirety of the Igbo nation, because of course IPOB is not representative of the entirety of the Igbo nation, but IPOB is representative enough of feel and texture of what the Igbos want to say that what IPOB is pushing for is exactly what the Igbos want. So a lot of that is going on in the Igbo nation, and a lot of it also is going on within the Yoruba nation. But then, of course, the strategies are different, but the ambition and the yearnings are exactly the same. Enough is enough, thus far and no further, and thank you for the 60 odd years, but now we depart. This is really the conversation now that is emerging out of the eastern regions of the Nigerian state. But then how to achieve that without bloodshed, as the good professor is saying, it's the $1,000,000 question. Because of course the Malamis, especially led by somebody like Buhari, they would never let go without taking a blood price. The Buhari regime will always take a blood price, and even when you're not even agitating yet with the level of fervor that you would need to agitate to achieve these things, they are already collecting that blood price. The blood price was paid in Lekki Toll Gate. The blood price is paid on a daily basis on the streets of Lagos, with their especially northern officers on the streets of Lagos just brutalizing and just robbing and looting the whole place. And the same experience repeats in Igbo land. So the blood price now is already been paid. But this idea, of course, and this really speaks to the cowardliness that the northerners have always relied upon to continue to ride roughshod over the southerners. So you are saying you want independence from somebody that has the whip hand over you and is telling you that you're not going anywhere, and you are saying that you don't want to do it in a violent fashion. So if you don't want to do it in a violent fashion, then you are not yet ready for your circumstances to change. But then again, if you attempted to do it in a violent fashion, you are completely outgunned. So the way through now is really what we have to devise. This is really the $1,000,000 question, and I have said before, and I will repeat it here again, and I will no doubt say it again in the future. The way for the Yoruba people, and of course by extension the Igbo people, the way for the nations of Nigeria to attain that independence that they want is via an international route. So they have to go internationally to seek international agreement on the breakup of Nigeria, so that by the time that agreement has been perfected, it will then just dull the guns that the northerners are relying on. But you're not going to negotiate yourself out of Nigeria with the northerners. It will never happen, because that will mean then giving up the Niger Delta oil wealth, and they are not prepared to do that. So go internationally find some sort of an international solution to this particular situation, to the point that the international community gets to recognize Yoruba nation as a nation. And once that is attained, then the whole the idea of Nigeria just disintegrates, because there's nothing really solid that holds the country together apart from force and oil money. Conversations in the comment section. Professor Banji Akintoye has spoken. So now what says you then? Come share thoughts. What do you have to say with regards to what the erudite and revered Professor has said? Come tell me what your take is in the comment section. But before you come share thoughts, click on the red subscribe button so it turns gray. The bell button notifies you every time I drop a new video. Click on like as well, because that helps with the YouTube algorithm. Once you've done all the clickings, come join me then in the comment section. The professor has spoken. Now what says you? So I'll leave you here. Carry this conversation on with you in the comment section. But here I say peace.